Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Conversation with Carl. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe for the latest content. Today, I am very excited to welcome Dennis Spiegel, widely known as Mr. Theme Park, who is the founder and owner of International Theme Park Services. With over 50 years in the leisure industry, he has worked on more than 500 projects globally. Welcome, Dennis Spiegel, to the conversation.
Hey, Carl, how are you? Good to see you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. So, can you tell me a little about International Theme Park Services?
Yeah, sure. Well, International Theme Park Services is a global consulting company to the theme park and leisure industry. We were formed 43 years ago, believe it or not. And as you pointed out, we've worked on over 500 projects in more than 55, 60 countries now. And when I started the company, Carl, I kind of felt like the Johnny Appleseed of the industry because I was going literally around the world planting seeds of theme parks and different types of leisure facilities because I recognized at that point in time that the one common denominator among all people in the world, no matter what your religion, race, geopolitical situation is, everyone wants to have fun. And that's why I started the company.
So, what do you actually do? If I would call you up and I would say, I want to build a theme park, what do? You show up at my house, you show up, we find a place. What do you do?
Well, first of all, we'll have a discussion with you and your team to find out what you're interested in, what you're thinking about, what part of the globe, the world you're located in. And then our services really are from A to Z. And by that, I mean, we start literally with the very first, most important and most boring thing we do in a project, which is the feasibility study. But the feasibility study, Carl, is the roadmap for the project. It keeps you on a path. You may not always be 100% on the path, but it does chart the course for the project. We then, depending on what your needs are, we will assist you in the master planning, the concept development, the thematic content, the rides and attractions selection and negotiation with the suppliers, and we'll work all the way through the design process, which is a very laborious process. Typically takes about, for a normal greenfield project that wouldn't be quite on the scale of Disney or Universal, takes about 3 years, 3.5 years to build a theme park.
What makes a good theme park?
Well, it's the thematic content. It's making sure that that theme fits in with where you're building the park in the world. It can be whimsical, it can be historic, it can be futuristic. The list for themes is ad infinitum. So getting it right up front, making sure that it fits the marketplace and the people that are going to come and visit is the most critical thing.
What's your favorite theme park that you've built?
Well, we've done so many, and they're all different. Each one, as I always say, Carl, has their own persona. We did Lotte World over in Seoul, Korea, and we built that in 1988. We opened it, and we were a part of that project for about 7 years, and it was the largest indoor facility of its type with over 6.5 million square feet or 650,000 square meters of indoor and outdoor theme park, along with retail, food, dining, etc. So that was really a very early creative project that we were involved with, from basically soup to nuts.
Well, now they have them American Dream and the Mall of America.
Yeah.
They're doing that all over the place now.
Well, actually, Lotte World came after those parks, and we actually were larger than Mall of America and the West Edmonton Mall out in Western Canada, and it became the largest indoor facility in the world. Tremendous theme, high density area, and that theme park today in 2026 will see about 10 million people come this year.
And so how do you decide about concessions at these various theme parks? Like if you're putting up a theme park, what are the concessions going to look like?
Well, when you speak about concessions, you have basically two operations. You have the F&B, food and beverage, and you have the retail, the gifts and souvenirs. And it's very important to understand the market, to get that right up front. And I'll tell you a quick story about how that was missed in Tokyo Disneyland. When Disney built Tokyo Disneyland back in the early 80s, their process was to bring the American concept totally to Tokyo. And they decided to only serve hamburgers and hot dogs and the foods that, we're familiar with here in the United States. And people love the thematic content. They love the rides and attractions, but they didn't like the food. And within 6 months, Disney went through a total recalibrating of their food and beverage to bring in sushi and fish and things that were very typical with the Japanese. So you got to get it right up front if you want to make money and make them happy.
And then I would say we have an insatiable appetite for extreme thrill rides. The closer we can perceive death approaching without dying, the better. Why do you think this is?
Well, everybody likes to push that fear factor, if you will, and we've been doing that for 70 years in the industry. Incidentally, our industry in 2026, we say for the theme parks, is 71 years old. That's how when Disney opened in California. And through the years, we have seen the rides and attractions, and particularly the roller coasters, get longer, higher, and faster. And if you look at the new Saudi Arabia Qiddiya Park that just opened on January 31st, December 31st this last year, you'll see that they have a roller coaster that's 3.5 miles long, 650 feet high, and travels at maximum speed 150 miles an hour. And each car has to have a windshield on the front of it to keep
Wow.
sand and any other debris out of the face of the rider. So longer, faster, higher. Technology's just been advancing, which allows us to do that.
Are those rides better than just say like the Cyclone, which is 100 years old this year in Coney Island? Or are they different rides?
They're different rides. I mean, you have your wooden coasters, you have your steel coasters, you have combination of both steel and wood. But you take a ride like the Cyclone, which you pointed out, I've ridden that quite a few times through the years, and you still get an enormous thrill and feeling that you are going to die when you ride that ride because it is so clickety-clackety and rickety. And then I could take you on the Orion at Kings Island here in Cincinnati, or the Diamondback roller coaster, and you and I can sit next to each other and have the same kind of conversation we're having right now. Never raise our voice. It's that smooth.
I have do you still ride these?
Yeah, I love the roller coasters. I could do this, I can do this, but I can't do this anymore. If I get on the Monster or the Scrambler or something that's circular, I get vertigo.
Can you go upside down or no?
I can do one inversion, but don't take me 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talked, you touched on this a little bit, but how did Walt Disney change the face and the idea of theme parks?
Well, he truly was, you hear this overly used phrase, a genius, and he really was a genius. Roy, his brother, was the financial expert, the business side of the equation in the family. And Walt Disney, just as we've seen through the, 70 plus years, he had these ideas with animation, storytelling, and he brought that to life and brought that directly to the consumer. So what he really did was, in fact, he came to Cincinnati, where I'm located, quite a few times to visit Coney Island here in Cincinnati, not to be confused with Coney Island, New York, because this was known as America's finest amusement park, and it was the forerunner to Kings Island. And he got ideas here. He went to Pontchartrain Beach in New Orleans. He went to Riverside in Chicago, and he gathered data and ideas, and he put it together in a way that had never been done, we'd never seen. So he changed the basics of the business from carnival, festival type attraction to a thematic content with story everywhere you went in the park, whether it was food, ride, attraction, whatever. And that's carried forward, as I said a few minutes ago, to 71 years.
Well, it seems like that it's very thought out when you're walking through Disney. As you walk through Disney, everything is planned, it's thought out. It's not when you're in Tomorrowland or when you go to Space Mountain. It's a process that you think, you've thought about where you're going to be,
Yeah,
where they're
absolutely.
going
And
to be.
that's the case whether you're in Epic Universe at Universal, you're at Six Flags in Texas or Georgia or Chicago or Magic Mountain, Kings Island, Kings Dominion. We have a process that we utilize that was utilized by Walt Disney 70 years ago. And let me explain it in Peter Rabbit language. Think about
Okay.
everybody goes to a shopping center. You anchor the shopping centers with the big stores at the ends, northeast, south, and west. And in between those anchors might be Bloomingdale's or Lord and Taylor or Target or somebody, a big store. You fill the gaps in between with stops that you want people to make along the way to keep them there to shop. And that's exactly what we do simply with the theme park. Not that simple, but it's a balance and flow that we look at very carefully and we take a strategic approach with so that we don't create a situation where a park is lopsided. So we know that when people come into a theme park in the morning here in the United States, they're acclimated to go to the right and they'll flow around to the right. And we know that, okay? And we will do things to throw that off balance just a little bit, to get them to go to the left to break up that flow of people and move them through the park. So we're working with a technical term, ECUs, called entertainment capacity units. And the theory is, and this was the Disney theory, and we still use it today, if we give the guest 1.5 experiences per hour, they're being satisfied. If we shorten that to 1 experience per hour, they're waiting in line too long. If we accelerate it and take it up to 2 or beyond, then they're going through the park too fast, they're leaving too early, and they're not spending the kind of money that we hope they would on additional food and drinks and snacks.
Oh, that's really interesting. When I go to a theme park, I say we go run all the way to the back. So you start really early and you go to the back because no one's there yet.
Yeah.
And then you work your way forward because by the time you get your way forward, people have already been in those lines. So that's my thought.
I wrote an article for the Richmond Times-Dispatch in 1976 for the our 200th anniversary, and it was entitled "How to Visit a Theme Park." And I told people in this article, when you come in, rather than go to the right, go to the left. You'll miss that mass flow. You'll be against them. And then when everybody else is eating between 11 and 1 and 2, and they're in the lines for the restaurants, then hit your more popular rides because the lines will be less at that point in time. So that still holds true today.
So let's discuss figures. How much does amusement theme parks generate in the US?
Well, last year, and the total numbers aren't in yet, but we estimate that somewhere in the neighborhood of 375 million people went to theme parks. With those 375 million, there were approximately 3 billion rides given or taken by those people. And each park has its own financial calculations. I can break it down for you into very simply 2 areas. The regional parks, which are the Kings Islands, the Six Flags, the Dollywoods, the Silver Dollar Cities, the Magic Mountains, and then the destination parks, which would be Disneyland, Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld. They will generate a higher per capita spend just because of the type of attraction they are and what the visitor has geared up for. But there isn't a set number that I can say each park generates $50 million or 20 million. In the
Well,
feasibility.
when you're going to Disney,
Mm-hmm.
it's a trip, right? You're planning
Yes,
it. When you're going to Six Flags, you live in that area, even if it's like 50 miles away, you're only planning to go for the day.
correct. It's a day trip.
It's a
And
day
you're
trip.
spending less. You're going to spend less. The average cost today, Carl, for a family of four to go to Disney World, or let's say Orlando, family of four for 5 to 7 days, runs between $7,000 and $10,000.
Yeah. And that makes sense because it's you want to if you're going to do it, I would say do it right and
Correct.
go live on the stay at the property, go eat, eat the food, get the meals included.
Do the
Otherwise it's
character breakfast.
yeah.
Absolutely, everything you can possibly do, because it's a big expenditure and it's a big family outing. It's huge.
Yeah. And if you're going to Six Flags, it's more a day trip, as we said.
Yeah, and we're finding too, as we mature in this industry, 70 years, as I've said several times, the season pass has become for the regional parks, also the destinations, but for the seasonal parks, if you took prior to the merger of Six Flags and Cedar Fair, each company aggregate attendance approximated 57 to 60% come on a season pass basis.
Uh-huh.
So it's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And I know the news likes to sensationalize it, and accidents do happen on parks. And sometimes you'll be watching the news in the morning and you'll see someone stuck on a roller
Well,
coaster. How safe are these rides?
I want to tell you, a theme park is probably the safest place you can be on the planet. When you look at us on an actuarial and a numerical basis, go back to the numbers I just told you, 375 million, 3 billion plus rides given. When you look at where we fall on the list of accidents by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, we're at the very bottom. More people are hurt, and this is true, gardening, bowling, watching television, playing billiards, barbecuing, and that list goes on and on and on and on and on.
How do people get hurt watching television?
You'll have to ask the CPSC. They're the ones who report it. But that is a true number on the list.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this. I was on a television show in Los Angeles once, and that question came up. And the moderator of that show, the gal, she said, you're hurting and maiming our children. And I said, no, we're not. I said, let me tell you something. It was less safe for me to come from LAX to this studio on the 405 than it would be for me to go to every theme park in America and get on their roller coaster and ride it today. And but we get the sensationalism and we get that publicity, which is understandable. People come to a theme park, an amusement park, for a good time, not to have an accident or be hurt. But we are very safe. And let me just add one more thing and I'll be quiet. It's
Yeah.
because of our own inspections internally, our insurance inspections, our state inspections, our third party inspections, and our ride manufacturer inspections. Those are constantly going on. And every ride that you get on in an amusement theme park every day has been inspected before that has been green tagged and said, ready to ride.
Yeah, I always double check when I'm on there that my seatbelt's on because I'm always nervous that it's not on right.
We've had situations where typically if there is an accident on a ride, it's one of three things. It's either mechanical engineering, ride operator didn't do something right, make sure your belt was on and double check you, or, and the most prevalent is rider. They did something. They tried to stand up, disobeyed the signs that are on all the rides.
Yeah, and that's a no-no.
That's a big no-no.
So I ask this a lot on a lot of my podcasts about AI because AI is so relevant today. How
Yeah.
is AI going to play in amusement parks in the future, and how does it play in your business model?
Well, we just scratched the surface with AI, and I sit here with my televisions on in my office watching the stock markets and the talking heads all day long, and that's all they talk about is AI. But we're already using it in the industry. We're using it in several ways. I wrote an article on this recently about for labor. It's going to help us with labor. It's going to help us calculate and factor and figure our schedules and our labor to keep costs down so we aren't heavy on bad weather days or low attended days. It's going to help us in our thematic content and our ability to increase the storytelling activity in parks. What we're seeing come along, Carl, technologically now through AI and other forms, it's happening so fast. It's kind of like how we saw the microwave change and our cell phone change. Every week there's something else. And the great thing is we're using this positively, and that's being used both by the operators, the park operators, and the suppliers who build these rides. They're weaving it in to their designs.
What does the future of theme park and amusement parks look like?
Well, it looks very good. I mean, if you go back to the number I told you, 375 million in the US roughly. Globally last year, that was over 600 million. Okay. And if you look at the expansion that we have had and we are forecasting, you have Disney building a $10 billion park in Abu Dhabi. You have Universal Studios building a $7 to $8 billion park in England, and also over in Saudi Arabia, they're proposing. And not only with those big companies, the giants, you have the local building and expanding. So there really is no signs of it letting up. I mean, right now with the war in Iran, the conflict, etc., that's slowed everything down, but it won't stop us. And it comes back to my comment about common denominator among all people is they want to have fun.
And do you see small playgrounds being turned into mini amusement parks?
No, we're seeing all different sizes right now. We're working with a group out in western US, northwest US, and they're building a small family theme park by today's standards, which would be a couple of $100 million, I should
Yeah.
say. So not really small. Thematically, it fits the content of the geography of where they're building. It captures the essence of the history of the area. And we're working with one down in Texas, and it's a small family, young children's type park, and that will come on board by the end of the year. So what we're seeing, Carl, is independence developing parks still here in the US, not on the size of a huge Six Flags right now, but we're also seeing Universal. They're opening a park over in Frisco, Texas, which is about 300, I think it's up to 500 million now, but it's geared towards children. We're seeing the Peppa Pigs, we're seeing the Bluey, we're seeing the Barbie. We're seeing a lot of
So,
these develop.
when you're spending 3, 4, $500 million, how long does it take to start earning a profit?
Well, depends on the market, and we typically, in our feasibility studies, we want to see an internal rate of return, an IRR, of about 25% initially. And on top of that, we'd like to see a payback, and I'm using a debt to equity ratio of 50-50. Somebody's putting in 50% of that capital and borrowing 50 of a payback within 5 to 6 years, less than 7. That's
Okay.
typically what we work on. That's what they like to see.
As we start to wrap up, is there anything I should have asked you that I did not ask you?
I think it's interesting to note that the theme park industry in the United States is huge. If you took all professional paid sports, hockey, basketball, football, everything, baseball, NBA, everything, and you roll them together, the theme park industry is still larger than all of the sporting industry rolled together. And it still is and remains the last bastion of true wholesome family entertainment because it's the place where grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, the kids, grandkids can all go, can be together, spread out, see different things. And when you break that down, Carl, on a value on an hourly basis, yeah, tickets expensive, but everything's gotten expensive. But on an hour by hour basis, it's still a great price value equation for the guests. So
Well, if you go to a football game, everyone has to enjoy the football game in the family. But if you go to an amusement park, there's things for everybody to do, and you don't all have to be together as a family the whole day.
yeah, if you look at just come back to it and take that one step further. If you look at a concert, go to a Taylor Swift or an Eagles or somebody, you're paying enormous amounts of money for 90 minutes to 2 hours. The typical visitation to a theme park by family is about 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
So break it down on an hourly basis. That's what we did.
Well, Dennis Spiegel, known as Mr. Theme Park, the founder and owner of International Theme Park Services, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much out there for listening. As always, let me know what you think. Put your thoughts in the comment section. And until next time, everyone, be safe